as you can see from the title of this video, and I'm pretty sure you've probably seen this on Instagram, we finally got a new basketball rankings or NBA mock, whatever you want to call it, for the new 2024 NBA draft. Now, I actually made a video pretty similar to this video a couple months back, but from what I can actually see, it looks like a lot of things have actually changed about this mock. A lot of players have moved up, a lot of players have moved down. There's a lot of players that I know a lot of people probably don't know about that are probably fairly new, probably have some new faces. And like I've actually said in the past, I just generally feel like this draft class specifically, I just feel like the average fan is not gonna know too many players you know, in this class. I mean, what I've been hearing and seeing from a lot of fans, a lot of scouts, and just people in just comments in general, I mean, I feel like we have to be honest. I've been seeing a lot of people say that this draft class is definitely one of the weaker draft classes, especially in the last 10 years. Me personally, I'm actually not ready to really make that statement just yet. I feel like we need to at least give these players a chance. We need to give these players at least a chance to perform, to showcase their skill, show what they can do, show their weaknesses, show their strengths. And then I feel like we can kind of go from there. But I don't know, I just personally feel like somebody in this draft class is just gonna burst out onto the scene and pretty much just surprise everybody and their mama. But guys, in the meantime, I think right now is definitely a good time to really scope out this draft class, look at this new rankings, talk about some bloomers, talk about some underrated players, some players that you need to probably have your notes on for. So make sure you guys buckle up, pull your pen and paper out, bro. We got a test due next Friday. Yeah, with all that being said, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let me know some players that you guys feel like other people probably need to name. Like I said, make sure to subscribe, like the video, do all that. Let's go get straight into this video. So guys, boom, let's go and get straight into this video, and starting out with the top 5. From what I've been looking at right here, it still looks like the top 5 is relatively the same as some of the recent mock drafts that I've seen in the past few months. And believe it or not, I actually think that a lot of these players within the top 10, not the top 5, but within the top 10 could definitely go down as the #1 pick in this draft. But for now, you will see Mr. Ron Holland holding that #1 spot. He's one of the few players that we've actually had a chance to see play earlier on into this season. So far, we've seen him play in a few exhibition games for the G League Ignite team. And I definitely think that one thing that I feel like we can all agree on about this man, Ron Holland, is that he's definitely one of the more raw, explosive, high intensity type players with who knows what type of potential that this kid has. I mean, just based off the eye test, energy that this kid brings on every single play, whether it's offense, even defense, you know, he just looks like a pesky defender, pesky player that you just want on your team. And I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a fundamentally, you know, sound type of player in this specific moment in time, but from what I can see, he definitely makes it work. Even whenever I was watching this kid in high school, I've been trying to tell people that this kid potentially could be the #1 player. I grew up in the same metroplex as him in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so I've actually been super high on this kid for quite some time. But like I said, to me right now, he still relatively plays kind of the same. He's definitely a guy that is definitely dominant based off of his effort, and I've actually never seen a player, especially at this specific moment in time on that level, play with a higher motor than this kid, Ron Holland. And just from what I've been seeing, it looks like he's actually improved on his jumper a lot too as well. That was actually one thing that I actually had questions about with him coming into this season. But if he can continue to become more versatile when it does come to putting the ball in the hole, continuing to be that pesky rebounder that can at least average over 10 rebounds a game and do it at an efficient rate and stay healthy, I definitely think he could separate himself from the pack to be that consensus #1 pick in this draft. Now, Mattis Bazelis is the second player on this list, very similar to Ron. He actually took a different route, and he's actually playing for the G League Ignite G League team. And like I've been saying in past videos, he's another player that I definitely could see being the #1 pick in this draft. Him and Ron Holland, those are the two players that I always see are interchangeable for that #1 pick. But in my personal opinion, I would definitely say that Mattis Bazelis right now is a little bit more polished when it comes to handling the rock and also playmaking for his teammates. He kind of reminds me of a praying mantis. I don't know, just the way that he just uses his length on the offensive side of the ball, the way he moves, the way that he utilizes his size to the best of his ability, and also just being an underrated athletic player. It's already been a few games this season, and we've already seen him catch a few bodies. Don't even be surprised if he does continue to catch even more. I feel like people just don't think that he's that athletic or he's that strong, but trust me, bro, you don't want to try this kid Manis Buzelis. The length that this kid has and the toughness that he has just playing for a school like Sunrise Academy, you know, they prepare their athletes fairly well. So I think Manis Buzelis, like I said, could very well be the #1 pick in this draft. Now, players 3 to 6 on this list, in my opinion, are fairly interchangeable. DJ Wagner to the San Antonio Spurs is obviously the most popular out of the bunch. As you know, guys, he was the #1 rated player for the most of his high school career in that 23 class. We know what he can do from a scoring perspective, being a 20+ point per game score on that high school level. His rim penetration is definitely what he excels at the most, changing directions, splitting defenses, improving on his jumper, especially at the 3-point line. I definitely think he's going to be a solid scorer somewhere in the NBA. And just like Bleacher Report said in this mock, if he can definitely continue to avoid just being an inefficient 3-point shooter, and if he can showcase that he can be a lead point guard for this Kentucky basketball team, definitely DJ Wagner will be a top 5 to 10 pick in this draft. Tyrese Proctor is definitely one of the more underrated players within that 3 to 6 range. He's a player that will be playing for Duke next season. And if you're a Duke fan, bro, I'm pretty sure you already know this from last season, but if you don't, this kid Tyrese Proctor, he's going to be that dude, and he's going to be that lead player that potentially could lead them to the March Madness tournament for this Duke program. Now, I wouldn't really say that he had the craziest year last season. He only averaged around 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. But I definitely think the fact that now that he's probably going to be given the keys, he's going to be that lead player, probably going to be playing the most minutes. I definitely think he's going to showcase that he can be a 6'5" point guard that you just know NBA teams are going to rave for. I mean, you can't really teach too much of 6'5" point guard skills, and it's kind of funny that he kind of reminds me personally of a LaMelo Ball, not because of his hair, but just because of how he's a microwavable shooter. He also is an underrated playmaker as well, and the fact that they also have him going potentially to the Charlotte Hornets, to me, it kind of makes sense. But Tyrese Proctor, please, bro, please put this kid in your note. Now, at the 7th spot, you will see this man, Alex Sarr. He's probably a player that you probably never heard of, but if there's anybody on this list that could make a significant jump in this draft, it's probably going to be this kid, Alex Sarr. I would definitely say that he's one of the more unique prospects in this draft. He played for the Overtime Elite last season, only averaging around 11 points and 6 rebounds. But just based on what we've actually seen in that first exhibition game versus the G League Ignite team, already seeing a lot of NBA scouts talking about this kid, raving about this kid with the potential that he does have. And like I said, I know he's not one of the more popular players on this list, but guys, make sure you check up on this guy every so often, because I'm telling you, bro, do not be surprised if he ends up being the #1 player in this draft. Now, from 8 to 14, all these players, they're all great dynamic players that have their own strengths. They all have their own weaknesses, but I think Isaiah Kohler, Stephen Castle, and Ade Mara, if I'm saying his name right, they're going to be the players to watch in this group. We know what Isaiah Kohler can do. I've said it time and time after again. We know what Isaiah Kohler can do from a lead guard perspective, especially due to the fact that he's going to be given the keys for USC this season. Like I said, to me, I've said it time and time after again, easily, in my opinion, the best pure point guard in this draft. Stephen Castle, kind of similar to Tyrese Proctor. You really can't teach 6'6", and as smooth and as patient and as a player and a point guard that can actually control the pace of the game, like I said, you really don't see that fairly often, especially at this day and age. Now, besides Caleb Foster on this list, everybody on that 8 to 14 range, according to Bleacher Report, they're actually all bigs, and majority of these guys are actually 7 foot and up. I think they actually are 7 foot and up, but that's one thing about this draft. I feel like there's a lot of players that are definitely undersized, but there's a lot of players that are oversized as well. But just some players that are not on this list that I definitely feel like you watching this video need to take your notes on. I mean, I'm actually high on, and I feel like players that are probably going to surprise a lot of people. Players like Johnny ONeill from American, Dylan Mitchell from Texas, and Jacoby Walters from Baylor. Now, I know that Johnny ONeill probably isn't the most popular name in college in general, but trust me when I say that if he can take American University to the March Madness tournament, perform when the lights are on, I'm telling you right now, bro, NBA teams, and this kid right here is going to gain a lot of fans and a lot of popularity across the country. He kind of reminds me of a Michael Porter Jr. type player. I mean, step back threes, catching bodies, 6'11", bro. I'm telling you, man, this kid right here is cold. Dylan Mitchell is another player that I feel like I'm very high on. He was actually a player that was supposed to be a top 10 pick in last year's drafts, and he actually entered the draft last season as well. But just seeing the fact that he wasn't going to be a first round pick, he was probably going to slide to that second round or even undrafted at all, that actually made him pull out of the draft. And in my personal opinion, I just feel like he's too talented, especially in a draft like this, to just not be a first round pick. But like I said, the fact that he didn't get drafted last year, I do think he's going to come back this season for redemption year, and he's going to really showcase that he can be a top pick in this year's draft. Now, Jacoby Walters is another player headed to Baylor next season, super fluid, can shoot the rock, playing in the Baylor offense. I really do think the way that they play at Baylor is really going to set up Jacoby Walters. And even in some other mock drafts that I've actually seen him potentially going in the top 10. I think Jacoby Walters is a top 10 potential type player. He's another player that grew up in my area as well, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if I've already been super high on this kid, I know what this kid can do. Super smooth, has a great jumper, can shoot it from 40 feet out, bro. I'm telling you, man, this kid right here, Jacoby Walters, bro, he's gonna be good. Guys, like I said at the beginning of this video, this class right here, bro, like I said, a lot of people are just not high on this draft. They don't have a consensus #1 pick. Generally, anybody within the top 14 and even first round could really be the #1 pick in this draft. But in my opinion, I feel like that definitely makes this draft a little bit more fun. It makes it a little bit more unique, something that we definitely have to keep our eyes on. I know we didn't touch up on some players like Bronny, Mikey, the more popular players like Aiden Holloway, Robert Dillingham, and all those guys, but you know, I feel like sometimes we have to shed light on some of these other players in this draft. So if you guys want a separate video about my predictions for those players, let me know down below. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, like the video, do all that. We're on the road to 30K. And yeah, with all that being said, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.